Usually I would do a funny intro, but because of the topic, I'm gonna be a little serious today. I think we should talk about the Puffy documentary on Netflix. So I think the best way to start this off is how I personally felt about Puff, my introduction to him. So, being a millennial, a 90s baby, I was introduced to Puff a little late, but he was still making hits. What I mean is, you would still see him all in the videos, dancing, but he was making he was still on fire from his, you know, I was old enough to remember Bad Boys for Life playing all over the world. I was old enough for Pastor Cavassier being a major hit. I was old enough for Making the Band, as well as Dave Chappelle making a parody of it.
Breast milk, you made my day.
Puffy was everywhere. This is where Puffy was the sponsor for Proactive and became, the ambassador and the front line for Ciroc. Puffy was on fire. He was held as a symbol of black excellence to the black community and definitely a legend and an icon to the hip hop community. Me personally, I always had an issue with him. Never really liked him, even as a kid. Honestly, my first introduction to him, my first reason for disdain, special delivery. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, go to Spotify or other DSPs, look up G-Dep Child of the Ghetto. Good album, by the way. And listen to that version of Special Delivery. That was my introduction to Puff. That's what started my disdain. Speaking of disdain, fast forward to now, a documentary from Netflix, executive produced by 50 Cent, is blazing across the world as of a couple weeks ago. I watched it with my girlfriend first, all 4 episodes, and then I rewatched it again, see if I missed anything. And despite being executive produced by 50, who's extremely petty, it was more well produced than I give it credit for. Now, there are some historical inaccuracies, like for example, the whole Pac thing. They try to pin it all on Puff when there's more context with it. Haitian Jack and Jimmy Henchman come to mind, but I get why they didn't do that. I mean, it still got to pull a narrative, right? But there are some things that even I didn't know about. What I didn't know about are good things that shocked me. Like, for example, apparently Puffy having Biggie pay for his own funeral and essentially forcing him and the executives around him for him to stay in LA, which led to his demise. I knew that Puffy capitalized off of Biggie's death, but now with the information I got from that documentary, it puts things in a more perspective, and it makes him a much more despicable person. My mouth just keeps dropping more and more from the Biggie situation and the SA case early before he got big to his relationship with Cassie, and then to his own footage where you see him in a personal life, which he was dumb enough to not pay the Netflix producers and they gave it to 50 Cent, but you saw him in a more personal light in which he, even if you don't believe what's said, you got to argue this man's a despicable person, saying that he need to wash himself and get a sanitizer because he's been around the people too long, like there are a plague, and that he needs to clean himself of the disease. Come on, man. You know it's bad we even have a little sympathy for Suge, and Suge is terrible himself. I've always said that Puffy and Suge are 2 sides of the same coin. Puffy just cared more about his image. It's like Democrats and Republicans, but ain't that type of topic. This is bigger than Puffy, despite me talking about it and basing my whole video about it, because a lot of us knew some trifling stuff about Puffy. We knew that he was ripping artists off. We saw what happened with Lots. We saw what happened with Craig Mack. We saw what happened with G Dep and Black Rob. We saw with Mace. We knew he had at least an abusive relationship with Cassie. We knew that. We knew that Puffy had a good hand in Biggie and Pac's death. We knew that. We knew that he was not a likable person. The Netflix documentary does a good job on showing the reasons for his behavior. And it goes back to his upbringing with his mom. The type of energy that his mom brought around him with the Harlem Gangsters and the parties. This is what he aspired to be, so he enacted that in real life. Now, I'm saying all this because as I'm watching through this documentary with my lovely girlfriend, I'm noticing some similarities between other celebrities and other well-known black people. Messing with other men's women, to having a bunch of problematic people around you, to ripping off other artists and portraying an image to hide your capitalistic desires and actions. I ain't gotta say names. I know a couple of artists and celebrities have popped up in your head. But that's what brings my other issue. Once this documentary dropped, people start coming out the woodworks dissing 50 Cent for making a Netflix documentary. One in particular, Ja Rule. Now what Ja Rule tweeted actually hit a nerve with me, because he was portraying it like 50 did not care about the abusers, which, you know, there's some facts to that. 50 cared more about being paid towards Puffy than helping the abuse victims. We know this. But then Ja said he was going to do the same thing to 50. Which, wouldn't that be like the same thing that you accuse? Look, this is my biggest issue. People pick and choose when to take serious issues like that serious. Domestic abuse, essay, rape should always be serious, especially if there's evidence. And you don't decide to have a moral high ground because your arch enemy is making a documentary exposing somebody you was cool with. And if we want to be honest, do y'all really want to talk about and bring to light domestic abuse and violence in hip hop? Do y'all really want that to happen? We can talk about it. We can list names. That's not even the layers, because it's not just Puffy. It's not just 50. It's a lot of names, including your favorites. And I will bet my bottom dollar that Ja is still cool with them, or was cool with them when they were alive. Message. But that goes back to the bigger point. We got to start calling people out and getting people the F out of here. When I saw Dr. Umar and Marlon Reigns say something along the lines of they was tearing a black man down, Puffy deserves to get teared down. This is not the time to pull that crap. If Puffy is detriment to the black community and hip hop, people have died because of Puff. People's lives, especially women's lives, have been ruined because of Puff. The first victim had to watch her abuser rise to notoriety and be celebrated as some kind of hero and icon for decades. We need to stop ignoring the signs, because Puffy was always like this. We saw this from the people saw this from the get-go. Do y'all not learn from R. Kelly and Karl Malone? Do y'all not learn from that? We need to call out these types of behaviors and get people the F out of here if necessary. It don't matter what their status is. It don't matter how much money they make, how good their streams are, how good their music is, how good they play sports. Get them the F out of here. I don't care if it's Jay-Z, Beyonce, 50 Cent, Kendrick Lamar, Aubrey Graham, J. Cole, Nas, LeBron James, Oprah. Well, Oprah definitely need to get out of here. Denzel Washington, Will Smith, Michael B. Jordan, Kai Cenat. Even people like you wouldn't think, like RDC World or Common. If they are on some bullshit, get them, hold them accountable, and get them out of here. We rely too much on their status that they're in godhood and they can't be judged. Yes, they can. They bleed just like us. The reason why Puffy got away for so long because no one checked him. Whether it was due to fear like Kirk or Capricorn, or it was due to them getting paid like Lil Rod. They wanted to get paid and it was making money, so they let it slide for the time being. And then they want to hop out on some bull and call him out for his devious actions when they're not getting the money anymore. We don't need to get to that point. You catch it, you call it out. And I understand the fear because some people have so much power that they can get you like that. But when you see some bad behavior, call it out. And not just Puffy, not just the big names. People in your circle, people in your community, family members. Do not let stuff like that slide. We got to be better at that because only the black community, only we can set ourselves straight. Only we can police ourselves properly because we can't let our oppressors do it. For many reasons. We got to do it. We got to make it more of an effort to do it. Let what Puffy went through and what Puffy got caught with be an example of why we can't let shit slide for so long. And learn from Puffy. If you see yourself heading down a dark road, get help. Because in all honesty, there's a lot of people that have the same mentality as Puff. Puff just had an opportunity to get the money and the power that he wanted to do all that. Just something to think about. Y'all have a blessed day. Peace.